like rain. The problem is when we get too much rain, it can lead to disaster in the form of flash floods. Well, I have a feeling we've got one headed right for us.
chọc trung học.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're sitting in a blue seat, you may get wet on our tour today. That flood was caused by dumping thousands of gallons of recycled water from large tanks on the hill. Here's what it looks like from actor Paul Giamatti's point of view in the comedy Big Fat Liar.
You can't outrun the wolf, kid!
Con mini chơi này nè.
Now we're taking you back across the border and back in time to the Old West. I'd like to welcome you all to a little town by the name of 6 Points, Texas. Just about every famous cowboy there ever was walked these dusty streets at one time or another. They always looked larger than life. Well, part of that had to do with the way we built these sets, because if y'all look yonder, you'll notice some of the doorways seem a mite smaller than they ought to be. That's so when our actors stood in them, they'd look bigger and brawnier than they actually were. We also made some doorways bigger so our damsels in distress would appear more vulnerable. It's a little ridiculous, but it was a different time.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us, Jimmy Fallon.
Well, I ain't going anywhere, Jimmy Fallon.
Now look here. Nice folks in this tram don't want no trouble. They just want to check out 6 Points, one of the oldest sets on the Universal line.
I hear this is where John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart shot a few of their westerns.
That's right. That's where I aim to shoot you.
Looks like we got ourselves a Mexican standoff. Lucky shot.
Now what say you mount up and get out of town while the getting's good?
All right. Well, I'll see you again, Fallon.
Oh, you can count on it, Fallon. Now get.
This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
We just had to talk it out, that's all.
Now the reason we call that street 6 Points is because it has 6 points, 6 corners. And back in the days of silent film, each corner had its own bank, its own saloon, and its own jail. So we could actually shoot 6 different westerns on that street at the same time. Recently shot on our Wild West sets, the HBO series Westworld, and Ben Affleck's Prohibition-era thriller Live by Night. But in the heyday of the Western, these sets were wall-to-wall action. Now just up ahead of us is Little Europe. We call it that because it can look like many of the cities in Europe simply by changing the language on the street signs and on the buildings, adding the appropriate vehicles, color schemes. It's the monster movie with classics like Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy. You're probably aware that the Mummy has just been rebooted, ladies and gentlemen, as part of Universal's Dark Universe. Features 2 of the biggest stars in Hollywood, Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe. Working out in Little Europe right now is The Good Place. It's doubling as a location called The Afterlife for The Good Place, starring Ted Danson and Kristen Bell. That's a fun show. It's, for those of you who don't know it, Kristen Bell dies and she goes to the good place when in actuality she's supposed to be in the bad place, and hilarity ensues. Actually, let's have a quick look at it. It's fun.
You, Eleanor Shellstrom, are dead.
Cool.
This location, the afterlife, come on. I've never ever seen this. You're in the good place.
I'm not supposed to be here. I can't risk going to the bad place.
Okay, well, maybe it's not all that bad.
Hi there. How can I help you?
What is the bad place like?
Well, it doesn't sound awesome.
Over here on your left, the sets and base camp for Home and Family, a variety show on the Hallmark Channel. And just up ahead of us at stage 50, we shot some key scenes from the series Bones, starring David Boreanaz. David Boreanaz came onto the scene playing the vampire with the soul Angel in Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There he is with the trench coat on. It's an interesting story. They were looking for an actor to play opposite Sarah Michelle Gellar on Buffy, to be her romantic lead. He was a vampire, but he was a good guy. But sometimes he was a bad guy, so he had to be tall, dark, handsome, charismatic, all of these things. Anyways, the casting directors saw literally hundreds of actors, and they could not find quite the right guy. Until one of the casting director's friends approached her and said, "Hey, listen, are you still looking for that actor? Because there's a guy on my block who walks his dog in the morning, and I'm telling you, he looks like exactly what you're talking about." So what did they have to lose, right? They approached him, he read for the part, and got it. That's how David Boreanaz got his start. And now I'm walking my dog all over Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Don't actually have a dog, I borrow Kevin's dog, but it could happen. After that, he had a spin-off from that series, his own series called Angel, and now Bones, his third series that's gone into syndication, which means over 100 episodes. So lucky for him, lucky for anybody involved in the show. But they shot some key scenes from Bones just up ahead of us at stage 50. Casting crew had the week off, so we get to go inside and have a look around. I'm going to run this clip of a scene that we shot in here, so you have a point of reference as we go in. But this is a hot set, which means it's ready for shooting, so please remain seated. We don't want to disturb anything.
He looks very upset.
When I talked to him, he said the guy died in his arms.
That's with the FBI?
FBI, yeah. We hear about the human remains.
That's him. Right over there.
You alright?
Yeah.
Even though Bones is actually set in Washington, D.C., and this is dressed to be a subway station underneath the Embarcadero Plaza. Whoa! Sorry, it's okay. It's just a tremor. This is Southern California. We get them all the time. It's nothing to be alarmed about.
Oh!
All right, that's starting to feel like a bit more than a tremor.
Oh!
I think it's the big one thing. The ceiling is caving in on the left.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
I feel like a vodka martini, shaken, not stirred.
Oh!
Hold on, everybody, hold on. Hey, it fixed my back. Oh, it's out again. It's a train and the track is blocked. Oh no.
Oh!
Now, remember what I said about those blue seats.
Oh!
Here's what it can look like on film.
ដែលដាក់ខ្ញុំនៅ Universal Studio នៅកន្លែងគេថតកុនហ្នឹងណា
What's going on?
Let's get out of there! The waterman just broke!
All right, from one natural disaster to another of sorts, we're heading into Amity Island now. This lovely little tourist town was once terrorized by a man-eating great white shark.
Jar. It's one of the very, very famous.
Locals had a name for it. They called it Jaws. Since then, the shark has ruled these waters, crippling the tourist economy, leaving a path of death and destruction in its wake.
It's a movie.
The people of Amity Island are breathing a sigh of relief because the shark has been caught. There's a diver on the scene right now doing a final sweep of the harbor, making sure it's safe for us to